there are ways that you can grow past what you ever thought was possible. And growing up in school, right? Somebody that I would be terrified a teacher would ask me to read out loud.
Yeah, I was there too. I remember that.
Still wouldn't be good at it, would accept the challenge because I don't really care what people think as much anymore, right? High school was middle school or a time of just being terrified someone's going to notice you.
Well, how freaking hilarious is it looking back at our high school selves? Like when I had to get called on reading, I would count. All right, I'm like the third person in.
Let me figure out what paragraph I'm gonna read practice.
So like everybody's probably doing that. No one's actually listening to me when I'm reading.
Yeah.
And like I messed up on a word, and I'm like, oh my god, like, what did it sound like? And everybody else is in their own head, like, oh shit, I gotta read next, or thank God I've just finished reading. I don't have to deal with that.
There's that one person that's good at reading, and then they weren't doing that, right? Because they were fine with it, but everybody else is like freaking out about it. And I just realized that's not a strength of mine. And like, why not? There's Audible now. Like, thank God we walk around with a calculator in our pockets and Audible's a thing. But I'll still read the physical book and then have Audible read to me sometimes while I'm doing it. And that just seems to work better. And it's faster and more efficient. And I'm still learning the thing that I want to learn. And it's not the wrong way to do it. And you don't have to feel bad about that. It's like, I will zone out in my head if I'm just reading a book. And I know that about myself after 31 years. And it's not anything except for it's just how my brain works. And I'm more audio than visual and doing than visual. So if I can have it read to me while I read it and then apply that chapter for the next week and then go to the next chapter, I learn stuff very well. But I didn't have a chance to do that in school.
So you ready for this? Because you just shared the secret on how anybody understands himself. Like, as I was saying, there have been times where I would read and I'd have to read the same page multiple times because I was the act of reading, but my head was everywhere else. I was thinking like, crap, I didn't even remember what I read.
What about same line 4 times before you realize that you read the same line?
Well, so what that tells me is, like, if your brain can't or doesn't want to focus on something, 2 things. 1, focus is a cultivated task, but it tells you directly what speaks to you and what doesn't, right? Because, like, just the act of reading doesn't speak to you in the same way of listening and then doing, right? Because we all have different ways in which we learn.
Yep.
Because when you're applying it in that way, you are engaged and you're interested and you're excited about it and you take it in, and not only take it in, but you apply it because it's speaking to how you like to learn.
Well, it's just being rooted in sport for so long, you know what I mean? You learn something, you apply it to the sport, it works.
Yeah.
You keep doing it. It's how I was raised. So of course, that's how I'm going to apply to things. But then obviously why I'm good at bodybuilding or lifting weights or diet, because I learn about it and then I implement it and then I learn if it works or not.
Done.
Only way to get smart at it.
Well,
it's the only way I could get smart at it. And the way that you have to do it that way, it makes sense why other people aren't smart at it, because reading about it and then they don't need to apply it to know the knowledge, but then they don't see any results from learning that thing.
Well, this goes to one of my favorite quotes that I just is its own. Knowledge is power is useless, because knowledge without execution.
You can know nothing and do stuff and be way better than somebody.
Yep, and you can know everything and have done nothing, and therefore that knowledge is then useless. It's only through the execution, the applied experience around that knowledge that creates wisdom. Wisdom is what people remember. It's what people pass on. It's how people learn. People don't learn just information. Information is useless without actual experience, because through that experience is how that information then starts to speak with you about your relationship with it. That cultivates your wisdom with that information, which then cultivates how it applies to you, how it relates to you, how it impacts you, and therefore how you use it or don't. It's through the application of the experience of that knowledge that becomes the foundational cornerstone of wisdom that builds everything from that moment. We don't remember information, we remember experiences around information.
Yeah. Yeah, if I read a book on anything and didn't apply it, it'd be gone tomorrow. You know what I mean? You're not that way, Mr. Photographic Memory, but I forget everything. And that's like, I like it. It means that the things that matter stick around in my brain, and that's fine. I don't need to remember physics from fucking college. And I understand the laws of physics because that's just something that you can kind of remember over time because they pop up so much, but I'd have to do research on it if I wanted to actually like speak on it. But like fitness,
Yeah.
I've applied every diet, every which way that I possibly could. I put them all together in a thing that works for me and a lot of other people because I've tested out all the separate things.
Because you took
But
knowledge.
I never would have been able to make up the diet if I didn't test it.
Yeah.
I never would have known enough. I wouldn't even remember what the Mediterranean diet was if I didn't follow it for 6 months straight.
Yeah.
Because I had to look at the book for the first month to know what I could eat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't remember. But I had to keep looking it up. You had to Google it every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be able to follow the Mediterranean diet. It's not the way my brain works.
Yeah.
But I knew that I was following it, and I knew that worked for me. And then I figured it out over the course of a month of doing the same thing every single day. And then hitting macros with it. And I was like, finally, I don't want to do macros anymore. Let's do intermittent fasting and figure this out. And then put those two together because they both worked.
Yeah.
And then do all this other stuff and then keep lumping stuff that I like together, take out the shit that I don't like that I couldn't follow. And then
Which
I was
is
just like, this is easy. And then for the main thing, carb cycling and contest show prep where I get to load up on some really crappy carb, unhealthy foods and drink a little bit because that's how I looked good for stage when I competed in bodybuilding and do that on a weekly basis. Then I test that shit out for a year. And I did a whole show without counting a single macro. 8-year process. None of it was fast. Somebody could have looked at it all in a book and figured it out. But I didn't do it that way, and it was way better.
Yeah, well, you kind of did in the sense that you were researching things and applying what you were researching to yourself.
Yeah,
through
which
that,
is how any coach should do it, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, it's like because you took knowledge and that knowledge was useless until you applied it. Because once you applied it, you took that knowledge. You're like, this had benefit to me. This didn't. Then you kept that. The new thing that you were learning. You're like, all right, this new knowledge, I'm going to apply it to my experience. This works well for me. This doesn't.
Yep.
And then that's how you started to take the knowledge that you were taking in and applying that to create the wisdom that gives you
yep.
the foundation for everything that you then continue to build off.
Yep.
I mean, I'm guaranteed the more we learn, the more that we're going to be doing the same.
Yeah. Well, it's like XY equals Z, right? I knew what Z was. I knew what I wanted.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just figuring out what fits into that equation to give me that lifestyle that I liked. So it's like, I want to look good. I don't want to try as hard as everybody else that is going to look the exact same way that I do. Lift weights less days a week if I wanted to do that. I did the 2-day-a-week thing for a while with the diet to see if that worked. Did 3 days a week, did 5, 6, 7 days a week. Just depends on how much I wanted to work out at that time.
Yeah.
I wanted all of those things to be possible in this reality of looking good and just trying as hard as I wanted to in the gym. Still had to lift weights, still had to be consistent, still had to be really good programming, but able to do it. And I wanted to drink on the weekends with my friends because I like doing that with them. I wanted to eat Five Guys once a week.
Yeah.
Or Chipotle burritos with chips on the side and have that not put me back anyway. And it's all this other stuff. And it's just like, there's a way to do it. And I'm not a fast metabolism guy where I can get away with a lot of stuff traditionally.
There is a way to do everything.
Traditionally. Now, I figured out a way, right?
Yeah.
But traditionally, I'm not. Like, I don't stay lean all year round if I don't follow a diet. I would get shredded for a show, and I'd get very not lean, still maintain all my muscle, but it was a vicious cycle where I had to keep doing that all the time. And I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be back in great shape in 2 weeks. I want to be within that striking distance all the time. So I did those things. I tested out everything and kept yo-yoing and losing weight using these diets. And then eventually it was like, I'll put them all together and see, and then I stay lean all year round. And I could be really relaxed with it all. And then through like 2 weeks of really hard work and strict diet, still following the rules, just not messing up on them, I'm able to get ready for the beach. like 2 weeks out from the beach. Now I'm ready, right? While still drinking on the weekends, because that's part of my rules. And it works. But it's solving for an equation, and there's a way that you can do it for everybody, and that worked for me. And I was like, how many more people can this work for? So I was like, here's free coaching to these 10 people. You have to follow this diet and send me pictures of it every day to receive the free coaching. Do it for those 10 people for 12 weeks. All freaking incredible results. 10 more people for free. Do it again, right?
You know, it's
and you went through that, and it worked for everybody. And I was like, sick. But the only thing that changed was I worked really good on fatty red meat. Women tend to work good on lean chicken and then adding an olive oil or something like that for their fat source. Some other guys, red meat sat really hard in their stomach, so fattier chickens and things like that. But then you learn about the population and how this stuff starts to work with them, and then it becomes like a diet in terms that you can use.
It's essentially finding your equation.
Yeah.
And we're just incredibly gifted at being able to help individuals not only identify your equation, but guiding you in filling those pieces of your equation, putting that together in a fun, easy way for you to experience that infinite potential, whatever that looks like
For you. Yep. And I say that I follow intermittent fasting, but the other thing that there's not a platform for me to tell people like how I do it. I fast until noon, and then I kind of stop eating whenever I feel like it.
Yeah.
If that means I'm out until 2 or 3 a.m. on the weekends, I will not stop at 10 o'clock or whatever, or 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Because that would just be lame in my eyes. I want to go hang out and not have Diet Coke.
Well, then, are you living your life at that point, or is your life controlling how you experience it at that point, right?
What is it? It might be Max Tuning that was like, fitness into your life, not your life into fitness.
I love that.
I love that quote.
That's such a great quote.
Yeah, because it's like, why would you? I did it forever. Whenever I was doing bodybuilding shows at the beginning, I wouldn't see my friends for 12 weeks. I'd be alone for 12 weeks. That's fine. That's the journey I had to get to. But the older that I got, the more friends were getting married and all this other stuff, and you realize that, like, yeah, you don't get to see people as much anymore. I want to take those opportunities as much as I can to be with people, or like friends pass away and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I missed 12 weeks of that person because I was getting in crazy shape.
Yeah.
And it's like, fine, but I missed out on some stuff. And it was really good character building for me. And I could have gone to the bar and had Diet Cokes, but I'm not that guy. If you have that kind of discipline, you can still have fun doing it. I need a couple of drinks to be able to talk to people and do all that kind of stuff. So, and I like it. So, like, I don't think that I should have to give that up to achieve the results that I want to achieve. And yes, there's a bunch of science around drinking and how it's bad for you and all this other stuff, but I don't believe that it is, or I believe that the positive outcome on my life done right is better than the negative outcome of completely cutting everybody out.
Yeah. Well, how about this? You could drink the same amount of water and the same amount of beer, and at one point or another, from either one of those, you will die.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there was that, I mean, everybody knows of that one radio, I think it was a radio show contest of who could drink the most water.
Yeah,
the person literally
drowned.
Yeah, like, that is because, like, everything is around, like, balanced moderation and being able to experience it in the most optimal way that is for you. Anything that, like, anything you have to take out and then try to force yourself to not eat or drink or allow yourself to experience.
Fine.
You know?
Yep.
It has its pros, but it also has its cons. And it's finding that healthy balance that fits.
There's a lot of cons to drinking that you got to figure out that I've had to work through.
Well, yeah. I mean, like,
I like it as a life experience.
Well, there's that, but, like, let's look at, I mean, there are so many research studies on the benefits of drinking 1 to 2 glasses of red wine for, like, how about the, like, Italians I know from, like,
great,
like having, my great grandma, she lived to be 90 something, like 94 or something. And
it's also a mental thing.
Everything is mental. It's all mental.
Because we can state studies all day long, but there's also a study that says that like 2 drinks a week is terrible
which
for you.
proves that
both are true. It's just your
Yep.
mindset around it.
and that which you
We
see
all know a
people
smoker
find.
that's lived over 100 years.
We have all known healthy people that have dropped dead
Yeah.
for no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, but the smokers that are like, oh, smoking gives me cancer, so I'm gonna get cancer, but I can't stop. Like, yeah, you're gonna get cancer probably, if I had to guess. That's
Yeah.
just kind of, you're wishing that into existence in terms of that could happen if you don't think about it at all. But
There are
like,
so many-
it's way more of a possibility if you're constantly worried and putting that stress on you that's gonna happen. On top of the bad thing about smoking.
Yeah. What you think about, you bring about.
But we are going to continue this on the next one. It's almost been an hour and a half, but that
Let's
concludes
go.
the first ever Infinite Potential Experience podcast. We are so excited to keep this going.
Infinitely.
Yeah,
Excited.
I mean, we have these conversations constantly, and finally being able to kind of like put them on video and release them to the world, because it's fascinating to get inside of his mind, and it's fascinating to reframe it in the way that I think about things, and the amount that we each learn every time that we have this experience. We just kind of want to share it with the world and help people go that way. But we're gonna get guests on, and we're gonna keep it going. We're gonna come out with 1 episode per week. So from Nick and myself, thanks for tuning in. From Rocky and Lexi, they want to remind you that today is Hug Your Pet Day. So go out there, hug your pets, and then as always, LFG.
LFG. Let's go. Woo!